What's up, Taiwan? I'm Rik Glauert with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Pope Francis had suffered a setback in his recovery from double pneumonia. The Vatican says he experienced a sudden breathing crisis and vomiting episode on Friday. Meanwhile, here in Taiwan, Catholics are gathering for a special mass, joining millions around the world to pray for his health. Catholics in Taipei pray for the health of Pope Francis at this mass held by the local archdiocese. As the 88-year-old pontiff fights double pneumonia, his faithful here congregate.
We are here to pray for the Pope and for his health because at this time we need to stand with the Pope.
And it is a great moment to see how we are living this communion with the whole church and also with other people who are also concerned about the health of the Pope. And we came together with one heart, one mind to pray for him so that God may touch him and heal him.
Taiwan is home to about 320,000 Catholics, a little under 1.5% of its population. Among them, many migrant workers from Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines and Vietnam. But the Holy See also plays a key role in Taiwan's diplomacy. It's one of only 12 countries to have official diplomatic ties with Taiwan, and the only place in Europe that officially recognises it as a country. A new pope could bring changes to this important relationship. The Vatican has recently made efforts to gain more access to worshippers in China, appointing bishops there after decades of being shut out. Beijing has been known to pressure Taiwan's diplomatic allies to switch allegiances. Taiwan leaders will be hoping to bolster ties and maintain those relations with the Holy See.
Special thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs officials, Director of Global Affairs, as our official present here.
Within the last days, also surely of the President lies closeness, which was directly manifested in the Holy See by the Empress of Taiwan.
The world is watching as the Pope undergoes treatment in Rome. His faithful, the world's more than 1 billion Catholics praying for their leader's recovery. Though Taiwan's Catholic community is small, people here know that the Pope's influence goes beyond his role as a global spiritual leader. It also impacts Taiwan's delicate standing on the world stage. Klein Wang, Rik Glauert and Rik Glauert for TaiwanPlus. A spokesperson for the European Union has condemned the recent damage to Taiwan's undersea communications cables. Speaking to Taiwan's central news agency, an EU official expressed concern over the growing number of submarine cables being cut. The spokesperson mentioned the EU is exploring the idea of submarine cable diplomacy to address how to protect this critical infrastructure. This all comes just days after a submarine cable in Taiwan was cut, with a China-linked ship and crew now under investigation. A shouting match between US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has aggravated an already strained relationship between the two countries. Zelenskyy left the White House early without signing a deal that Washington had said was vital to negotiating peace. Joyce Zheng has more.
A high-stakes meeting for war-torn Ukraine and its largest arms backer, the U.S., ended in disaster as tempers flared between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Tensions rose after U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said Ukraine should make peace with Russia, Zelenskyy asking Vance if he's been to Ukraine to see what they're up against.
Do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you?
Today.
The row overshadowed a meeting that Zelenskyy had hoped would bring Trump closer to his side and away from Russian President Vladimir Putin, who ordered the invasion of Ukraine 3 years ago. Zelenskyy left the White House shortly after the spat without signing an anticipated minerals deal seen as crucial to a U.S. brokered truce. Meanwhile, an outpouring of support for Zelenskyy from European leaders, many taking to social media to say that they stand with Ukraine. EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs Kaja Kallas also saying that it's become clear that the free world needs a new leader, and it's up to Europeans to take on this challenge. Some in the U.S. also concerned about their new administration's approach.
A lot of the upset was the way in which they talked to him. In the Oval Office, of all places, to a head of state and government, and the fact that this looked like some kind of mafia shakedown. It was really how bad the American leadership looked to the world and how ashamed we should be that our leaders act that way.
The news of Trump and Zelensky's row even making it to Moscow.
Два такие экстраординарные личности, и они не могут просто так, наверное, спокойно поговорить по-взрослому, как два.
And in Kyiv, growing fears for the future of their country.
Він повністю відстоював наші інтереси, він не дозволив нам залізти в якусь кабалу. І я вважаю, що одна з заяв Трампа була в тому, що президент Зеленський корумпований політик. Тоді в мене питання, чого його не змогли підкупити, щоб він підписав цю угоду.
All eyes are now on how the U.S. and Ukraine will salvage relations to get to the negotiation table and talk peace, and the minerals deal Washington sees as repayment for its military aid in limbo, while war and destruction in Ukraine rages on. Leon Lian and Joyce Sin for TaiwanPlus.
Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra is defending her decision to deport at least 40 Uyghurs held in her country back to China. Many in the international community have condemned the move, saying it risks the lives of the deportees. For years, China has been accused of committing genocide against the ethnic minority, something Beijing denies. The Thai Prime Minister says Beijing has promised a peaceful repatriation, as evidenced by this video released by the Thai government.
เราภาพออกไปทั่วโลกแบบนี้แล้วเนี่ยเราจะพลิกคำที่สัญญากับประเทศเพื่อนบ้านอย่างเงี้ยค่ะมันก็จะผิดไม่ใช่ผิดแค่กับประเทศเพื่อนบ้านก็จะผิดทั่วโลกก็จะมองเห็นถูกไหมคะเพราะฉะนั้นดิฉันถึงได้มีความมั่นใจว่าเมื่อกลับไปแล้วเนี่ยทางจีนก็จะดูแลคนกลุ่มนี้อย่างดีค่ะ
The detainees had been held in Bangkok for a decade after they entered Thailand without a visa. The men had fled from China's Xinjiang province. Over 80 Indonesian nationals rescued from a Myanmar scam centre have now made it home. They were tricked into travelling to Thailand with promises of high-paying jobs, only to be taken across the border into Myanmar and forced to work in scam operations. Many had to work more than 16 hours a day and face beatings and other abuse. Thousands of people have recently been rescued from these scam centres, but most are still in camps on the Myanmar-Thai border. US President Donald Trump's freeze on foreign aid has some recipient countries rethinking their options. Now, experts are wondering if China will step in to fill the gap. Adil Bra reports.
With the stroke of a pen, US President Donald Trump froze nearly all US foreign aid for a period of 90 days. Trump says his administration will review whether the funding aligns with his America First agenda. Recipient countries are now waking up to a new reality as Washington withdraws its support, and experts say China has a chance to step in and fill the funding gap. Trump's decision is already reshaping geopolitics in Nepal. The low-income country heavily relies on foreign aid. China is the US's main geopolitical rival, and the foreign aid Trump froze was supposed to keep Beijing at bay in the South Asian country.
Is that the US is Nepal's largest bilateral partner in terms of aid, right? And I do not think China can match it dollar to dollar. But the US withdrawal from certain sectors, particularly education, I think, these are sectors where China can fill the void. China is heavily invested in education inside Nepal, particularly primary education, through a couple of projects already. China has also started doing what, let's say, initially a lot of its programs were not oriented towards what we call softer, let's say, soft infrastructure or soft development, such as education, sanitation, drinking water, health.
China has already found ways to grow its influence in Nepal without trying to compete with the US in total dollars spent. Beijing has offered over $200 million as a loan for building the Pokhara International Airport, among other key infrastructure projects. In 2019, China and Nepal also upgraded their ties to a strategic partnership, marking a significant moment for Beijing, undercutting US influence in Kathmandu. The US has stepped up its effort in recent years to counter China's Belt and Road Initiative, Beijing's strategic global infrastructure project. In 2017, the US aid agency Millennium Challenge Corporation, or MCC, had committed $500 million for development projects in Nepal. MCC funding for Nepal was supposed to counter China's growing influence in the region. Though MCC funding does not directly mention countering China, Nepal saw the funding as part of the US's Indo-Pacific strategy.
But does the US withdrawing create an opportunity for China to be able to expand its influence? Yes, it does. Because it becomes the case that there are very few providers of aid. There are very few actors who are willing to step in. And China, which has been an actor which has tried to take that role while also being quite circumspect in terms of the amount of monies it commits.
Now, Kathmandu fears Trump's aid freeze will severely delay key power grid and road building projects. This sudden pause in American assistance has many in Nepal's political circles looking elsewhere to fill the critical funding gap.
And the Chinese may say, hey, look, now all the criticism that was levied against us, say from India and the US, around how Chinese money leads to unsustainability, is not necessarily economically viable projects and things like that. All that criticism gets blunted because the Chinese say, hey, look, we're the biggest boys in the game, right? And you deal with us.
With the Trump administration saying it's putting America first, by freezing foreign aid, it's opened a clear opportunity for China to position itself as Nepal's go-to partner for infrastructure and development. This shift could have huge geopolitical consequences, not just for Nepal, but also for the world. Adil Brar in Phuo Hong for TaiwanPlus.
Animal health officials have culled more than 28,000 chickens at a single farm in central Taiwan in an effort to stop the spread of a deadly strain of avian flu. Officials say a new variant of the H5N1 strain is highly infectious. They're urging farmers to increase preventative measures such as insulation and ventilation. The last major culling was back in December, when over 5,000 chickens were killed to prevent the spread of the same virus. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, we're heading to Rio de Janeiro, where the 5-day carnival celebrations have officially begun. I'm Rik Glauert. Take care, and we will see you next time.